Welcome to Burnout-Free Me, your success and well-being podcast. I'm Dr. Amy Grimm, and I am so glad you're here. Let's go from burnout to breakthrough together. Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode number 76 of the Daring DVM podcast. Before we jump in, I just want to remind you that I'm doing a free online workshop on Saturday, October 19th. In this hour-long workshop, I'm going to teach you about your stress response, what this looks like, and exactly what is happening to you. I'm also going to teach you 3 simple tools that you can use in the moment to immediately feel less stressed and more in control of your situation. These tools will help you during your workday, they're going to help you in your personal life, and you can use them during the upcoming holiday season, which we all know can feel pretty stressful at times, especially when you're juggling your career and your relationships and your family and all of these big holiday events. So check out the link in the show notes to register, and I cannot wait to see you there. So today's episode actually ties in beautifully with the workshop that I'm going to be teaching because we are gearing up for the holiday season. We are already halfway through October and pumpkin spice is everywhere. And pretty soon we're going to start with all of our Halloween celebrations, which are then going to lead into Friendsgiving and actual Thanksgiving and all of the holiday celebrations that occur in December. And before we know it, it's going to be New Year's Eve and 2025. What? So, we're about to head into the roller coaster season of stressful family gatherings, holidays, work stress, emergencies, breakups, holiday proposals, New Year's resolutions, and wondering what the fuck you are doing with your life. Why is everything so crazy? And how can it already be January 2025? So each episode from now until the end of the year is going to help you with your stress, your work stress, your family stress, and it's going to help you deal with the particular challenges that can come up this time of year. The episodes are going to aim to help you navigate these stressful situations successfully and give you different insights and perspectives to help you stay in control of your brain, no matter if everything around you is a shit show or if you are surrounded by people who are actively trying to fuck up your life. I'm going to teach you some cognitive tools today that you can use to help you survive time at work, time with your family, and just time in general. These tools are going to help you get through it. So the first thing I want to talk about is the ability to set reasonable expectations. The upcoming holiday season can feel triggering to many people. There are certain situations where it can be more challenging to manage your own thoughts and feelings. Remember, your nervous system is reacting to previous experiences, and these reactions are often automatic and they're not always accurate. And what I mean by this is your nervous system may be triggered to thinking that you are in imminent life-threatening danger, but really this is just a perceived threat, and the outcome is not actual life or death. So for some of you dealing with your own family or potentially your mother-in-law or some other extended family may feel like life and death, but remember, this is just a nervous system reaction and it does not mean that your life is in imminent danger. It's just a perceived threat. You are safe, even if it doesn't quite feel like it. And this is why it's so important to plan ahead of time and to have reasonable expectations. And let me be clear, this does not mean you have expectations for how you want your family to behave. Yes, there are many of us out there who think that our families or certain family members are unreasonable, and we have our own expectations for how we think our family members should behave or what we consider to be reasonable behavior. But the catch is that no matter how good your reasons are, it has never changed how these people have behaved. And so far, it hasn't changed how you behave. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't have reasonable expectations for how you would want your family to behave, but you need to remember that their behavior is out of your control. Because when you have expectations for other people and you are highly committed to those to the point that you spend a lot of energy and time thinking about them and how they're not behaving the way that you want them to or how you think they should, then you're the one who ends up feeling stressed, and this doesn't really serve you. On top of that, you're now in an environment or situation where you may experience a lot of different stimuli and familiar things that bring up many intense thoughts and feelings and memories within you. And because our nervous systems cannot tell time, when you find yourself in these environments, it's almost like you just become that teenage version of yourself again. Suddenly, you're 15 years old again and you're arguing with your siblings or with your parents, and that whole vibe just comes right back, and it's like you never left and you want to show up differently and say things differently, but it's almost like you feel trapped in this pattern that always happens, so things just play out the way that they always do. But, my friends, if you can prepare yourself ahead of time and just set reasonable expectations that you're probably going to have a lot of thoughts and feelings that will come up during the holiday season, and particular with your family, and you can remember that these thoughts are not fatal, they are not life-threatening, then you will be so much better prepared to handle whatever comes up. So my advice is to expect that it will be challenging. Nothing has gone wrong. You were having a completely normal human reaction, and your feelings are not going to kill you. If you recall from the last episode, your anxiety-driven survival brain is offering you a bunch of thoughts of which most probably aren't even real or true. They're just sentences in your mind based on a previous nervous system trigger that are now causing feelings that show up as these sensations in your body. So in knowing all of this, the best thing you can do to prepare for the upcoming holiday season is to practice deciding what you want to think ahead of time. And the thing is, many of us do not do this. We just act like our emotions and our thoughts just happen to us. We say things like, well, I'm just going to see what happens. And then we enter into these situations incorrectly believing that we have no control over how we think or feel. We just hope that we're lucky enough to have things go the way that we want to go so that we can feel good. We just hope that we can get through dinner. We just hope that that one awkward uncle is not going to show up. We just hope that we're not going to get stuck in traffic even though we know everybody else is traveling around the holidays as well. We set ourselves up for failure by having unreasonable expectations of how we think things should go, and for not having a plan ahead of time for how we want to think and feel, knowing that these very likely scenarios are probably going to happen. Just imagine if this is how you lived the everyday parts of your life. Oh well, I just hope I encounter some food today so that I don't feel hungry. Oh well, I just hope that I show up on time and at the right hospital today so that I don't feel guilty and my manager doesn't have to talk to me about being late. I just hope I remember how to be a veterinarian today so that I don't feel like a shitty doctor. You don't just go about living your life like this and hoping that you somehow make it through. You have a plan ahead of time that you follow to make sure that you are fed and that you show up on work and that you do your job. So the very first thing that you want to do is expect that you are going to have a lot of thoughts and feelings, and that is okay. The second thing you want to do is get clear about how you want to think and feel, and realize that you actually have control over this part. You do not just have to think the thoughts that automatically pop into your head, and you do not have to suffer through whatever feelings come up like you cannot do anything about them. Really, you have a lot of say in how you feel. Your feelings cannot happen to you without your permission. You have a very big role in deciding how you're going to feel. Yes, your nervous system may be triggered, and that does not mean you have to believe it. You may have negative emotions come up, and it's okay to acknowledge them for what they are, yet you do not have to stay in that feeling. So let's change gears and talk about how do you decide to think and feel on purpose. A great way to break the cycle and to gain control over your thoughts and feelings, especially when dealing with family or stressful work situations, is to catch yourself in the moment and think, Of course they did. Of course they said that. Of course they just did that. You've been around these people for years, so you know exactly how they're going to behave and the types of things that they're going to say most of the time. Yet, every time you interact with them, you get stressed out. Or you even dread your interactions with them and think about how amazing it would be if they didn't act that way that they always do. And like I said, this doesn't just apply to family time during the holidays. We do this with our partners, we do this with our children, with our friends, with our jobs. We do this with so many things. When you spend a lot of time in a particular environment or with certain people, you know what the patterns are. And if these patterns are uncomfortable to you, then what your brain ends up doing is spending a lot of energy and time hoping that it doesn't go the way it always does. So for example, let's say that your mother-in-law always has some quip about how you are raising your children. You're always working too much and not spending enough time with the kids. Or you're spending too much time with your family and you're not being serious enough about your career. Or she's going to tell you that she wouldn't have made the same decision that you did and she would have done it this way. Whatever it is, you know this is likely going to come up. And what you do is you find yourself spending the time before the family gathering complaining to your partner about their mom. You vent to your friends about how annoying it is and she better not say anything this time, and if she does, she better watch out because you're not going to hold your tongue. You're out there talking about the boundaries you're going to set, and then you're worried about how she might react to them, and then you get yourself all stressed out anticipating what she may or may not do and resenting her ahead of time. And maybe even taking out some of the stress and frustration on your partner and other people in your life. But here's the thing. All of this is completely unnecessary because she's definitely going to do it. She always does. You preemptively start worrying about it and agonizing over it because you know that this is what she does. So before we can start working on your mindset and teaching you new beliefs about her and what she does, we just have to start with accepting the thought that this is what she's going to do. Of course she's going to do this. Let's just expect this. This is a reasonable expectation. And then let's plan for how you want to think and feel ahead of time. Rather than wasting a whole bunch of energy hoping that she's going to act differently or that your partner is going to intervene or that maybe you won't feel as angry or resentful with her this time, let's just decide ahead of time that this is what she's going to do and this is how you plan to respond. Another example that I can share for me personally is that I have a friend who is always late. I've been friends with this person for a long time, and she is always late. And she never has a good excuse for being late. It's always something that was completely avoidable in the first place. Now, I could choose to not expect this and to not accept it and to worry about her showing up on time for a group event and how I'm probably going to feel annoyed and worrying what everybody else is going to think and how it's going to affect the group. And this would leave me feeling disempowered and like I don't have a lot of control over this group event. And I'm probably going to be annoyed and frustrated. Yet, the only reason that I'm feeling these things is because I have this thought that maybe she won't do what she always does, even though I know she's going to show up late. So for me, it just makes no sense for me to choose this option. So the very first step is just accepting that this is going to happen and that I'm not going to make it a problem. Of course she said those things. Of course she was late. The only time these things become problems for you is when you give them the power to control your feelings. You spend time worrying about whether or not they're going to act a certain way, and then you spend time being upset when it does. So it's like a double whammy. The whole point of knowing and expecting that something is going to happen ahead of time is so that you can prepare for it. The problem at the moment is you're not really preparing for it. You're just preparing yourself to be upset about it, which is not the same thing. Instead, you can decide what you want to think and how you want to respond ahead of time on purpose. You can remove the time and energy that you waste worrying about what might happen, and you can remove the time and energy that you waste being upset when it does. You get to manage your own emotions rather than letting the potential thing or person have control over them. So what I would offer is spend some time thinking about the type of things that may trigger you. Maybe it's your dad complaining that you never spend as much time with him and your stepmom as you do with your mom and your stepdad. Maybe it's your grandmother telling you you would look so pretty if you just lost some weight. Maybe it's your partner complaining that you're going to be late to the family gathering because you're always stuck at work. Whatever it is, write it down. Write down what you are afraid will happen, and then write down why you are afraid of it happening. Remember, the thing is not happening right now, you're just afraid that it will. And you are afraid that if it does happen in the future, then you're going to feel things that you don't want to feel. When you are stressing about what someone will say or do in the future, it's because you are worried that when they do, you are going to have feelings that you don't like and you won't be able to handle them. Feelings like rejection or shame or hurt or sadness, guilt, frustration, anger. You are afraid that you are going to feel these feelings. But when we think about the self-coaching model, what actually causes our feelings are our thoughts. And this means that you don't have to stress out about the future event because when it happens, you will have already prepared what you want to think and say to yourself and how you're going to allow yourself to feel in that moment. So let's go back to that mother-in-law example. You are worried that your mother-in-law is going to make a comment about your parenting. The reason you're worried is because you have this thought that if and when she does make the comment, you are going to feel hurt. More specifically, you're probably going to feel judged, or maybe you're annoyed or you feel defensive, or in some cases, depending on what it is she says, you may even feel ashamed. And if you feel ashamed, it's probably because you're having some kind of thought about how she is correct and that you don't spend enough time with your kids because you do feel like you're at work all the time. If you are defensive or annoyed, it's probably because you have your own judgmental thoughts about her or your situation. And whatever it is, whether you feel offended or embarrassed, there's going to be some kind of underlying thought about how she doesn't approve of you or how she doesn't approve of how you're raising your children. Maybe you feel like a bad mother, or maybe you get annoyed with yourself because you feel like you shouldn't care what she says, but it still hurts anyway. There are many different thoughts that you can have that cause your negative emotions. So when you are here in the current moment, thinking about the upcoming holiday season and worrying about how you might feel in the future if somebody says or does something that you know they will very likely say or do, what you are actually worried about is that you will have a thought, and that thought will create a feeling that you don't want to feel, and you don't think you can handle it. And you're worried about this because you have this underlying unconscious belief that you don't have any control over how you're going to think and feel in that moment. And essentially what you're saying to yourself is that if my mother-in-law makes a comment about my parenting, then I am going to think a thought that will make me feel ashamed. If my grandmother comments on my weight, I'm going to think a thought that will make me feel hurt. If my brother is loud and argumentative at the dinner table, I am going to think a thought that will make me feel annoyed. That's why the solution to this problem is to plan ahead of time what you are going to think and feel when this inevitably occurs. In the moment, you are going to be reactive and you're not going to be able to think as clearly, and your survival brain is going to offer you a bunch of unhelpful thoughts, which will cause you to feel a lot of negative and unhelpful emotions. So knowing that your mother-in-law is going to say something that will make you think thoughts that cause you to feel criticized and hurt or guilty and angry, why not just go into the situation knowing what you're going to think ahead of time and choosing what emotions you want to feel before you ever get to your interaction with her? This is why practicing some version of course she said that, can be so helpful. Of course she said that. We have different opinions on parenting. I know that I'm a good mother based on my own beliefs and actions. Notice how different this type of thought is and how different the emotion behind the thought is compared to when you think something like, oh my God, she's just trying to make me look like a bad mom. Or, I can't believe this bitch. Who does she think she is, telling me how to raise my kids? Notice how those thoughts feel very different. The truth is, you never have to think those types of thoughts. You can always choose ahead of time what you are going to think when she does the thing. And it's going to be far more helpful to you and serve you in a better way if you pick thoughts that are going to be neutral and help you stay grounded and calm. Pick thoughts that are empowering and that help you have your own back and enforce a boundary if necessary. You get to make the decision about whether you want to continue engaging in conversation with her, but you never need to feel bad about it. So decide ahead of time what you want to think, how you want to feel in the moment, and then plan ahead of time what you will do or say so that you do not find yourself reacting or being unkind or saying or doing something that you later regret. As you learn to manage your mind more and more, you can be prepared for unexpected moments or things that catch you by surprise because you will be able to coach yourself in the moment. But as a beginner and someone who is just learning to use these tools, it is far more helpful to prepare yourself ahead of time. Preparing yourself ahead of time will get you used to catching your thoughts in the moment, changing them to what you practiced ahead of time, allowing yourself to notice the triggered negative emotion that comes up, and then, without reacting to it, instead choosing to feel whatever feeling you chose ahead of time. For some of you, that may be love or self-confidence, peace, calmness. You can actually decide that you're going to love her really hard, no matter what shit comes out of her mouth. That's always a choice. Or maybe you want to feel more neutral and you just decide that you're going to feel calm or stoic. It doesn't have to be some happy, shiny, super positive emotion. It just needs to be something that will help you feel better. And remember, the way to create the pause in your automatic response is to notice how you're feeling in your body. This is why learning about your nervous system states is so important. You want to know what are the actual physical sensations like in your body when you're entering that hyperactivated state. Sensations like tenseness, tightness, heat in your cheeks, rapid heart rate, sweating. Use these things as cues to ask yourself, am I empirically safe? Yes. Do I feel safe? No. This is something that I knew would trigger me. And then take a few deep breaths. Use one of the regulating techniques we've talked about before. Bring your mind into the present moment and think the thought that you have prepared ahead of time. Of course, this is what I expected. This is what I actually think. And this is how I choose to feel. When you have mastered the skill, there is so much negativity that you can remove from stressful situations. You don't have to worry about whether you're going to be able to enjoy your meal or if you're going to feel too nervous to eat. You don't have to worry about whether you're going to feel defensive and yell at your brother. You don't have to worry about whether you will feel ashamed or guilty or resentful for any reason, because you get to decide ahead of time what you're going to feel. So if you know that you have a particular trigger or you become defensive or shut down in particular situations, then you can get very specific with the details and you can write about it and you can decide and write down examples of things you want to think and how you want to feel. Examples of thoughts that you can borrow are, I chose to be here and I knew what to expect, and I'm the only one who gets to decide if I am a good mother and how I want to feel about it. Or you can think, that's just mom being mom. Or you can think something like, I decided to grace my extended family with my presence today and I'm going to feel good about it no matter what they do. It's really all about whatever you know you can think to help you in the moment. And then here's the really important part. Practice this thought. Practice thinking it every single day. Write it down. The more you practice it, the more natural it will become and the easier it will be for you to use it in the moment. This is how you take control of the situation. This is how you feel in control of yourself in all of your relationships. And this is how you take control of your own emotions no matter what. This is how you have your own back. By practicing the thought, you are literally creating a new neural pathway in your brain, and you are going to strengthen it by thinking the same thought over and over and over. Once you start letting go of those old thoughts that create the negative emotions, those pathways will start to wither and die. But in the meantime, you really have to nurture the new neural pathway that you want to create. Okay, my friends, I hope this makes sense to you and that you can start practicing the types of thoughts that you want to think that help you feel good and in control. If this sounds like the kind of work that you want to do and you know that you would like some help along the way, then please reach out to me. Being able to feel in control of myself and my own life, no matter the situation, is one of the reasons that I love coaching so much. And I would love for you to feel this way about your own life too. You can always email me and set up a time to chat, or just go to the link in the show notes for a no-strings-attached gifted coaching conversation. I would love to help you figure out where you're struggling so that you can get rid of your stress and you can handle work time, family time, and holiday time, no matter what kind of crazy is coming your way. Also, don't forget to register for my free workshop in which I'll be teaching you about your stress response and how to calm down in any tricky situation. The link is in the show notes. And if you're looking for simple tools to help you get rid of your stress and overwhelm, then this workshop is for you. And don't forget to check out the free resource I have for you in the show notes about overcoming your anxious doctor brain. So just go check it out because it really can be helpful in helping you get a handle on your own anxiety and the thoughts that lead you to feeling stressed and overwhelmed. Stress and overwhelm and worrying do not have to be major players in your life. Feeling calm, confident, and energized really is possible, and it is absolutely available to you. So don't be shy about reaching out to me for help. And have a wonderful week, everyone. And until next time, dare to dream.